Hello and welcome to Distributed Systems and Blockchain in the News. My name is Thomas Bocek, and this week we have in the news the following topics. So the first link is a bit older. It's from 2011. Nevertheless, I think it's quite interesting. It's the following article about how developers spend most of their time, and they showed a very nice graph. It's a bit older, so it's from 1979, so it's rather old. It's about software development, and they show that most of the time engineers spend with maintenance. This may not be true today anymore, especially maintenance. However, if you look at newer figures, there are also some newer measurements or studies, which is this one from 2017. So they studied with software engineers what they are spending most of the time on, and most of the time actually they spend on comprehension, so understanding the code, understanding the complexity. And this brings me back to my point. Distributed systems, they can be complex. In the lecture, I try to show what possible building blocks there are, but always I'm trying to mention that these building blocks, the fewer the better, so less complexity is always better, and the less complexity you have, the lower the attack surface. So if you have a highly complex system, you're not aware of all the bits and pieces, and this makes your project much more fragile and also prone for attacks. This brings me to the second article. It's a current news item which is still under development, which is a security vulnerability in Spring, starting with JDK 9. I believe this is due to the modules that were included in that release. It's a bit complicated since there are two issues. One of them was confirmed, one of them was assigned medium severity. So the following link shows this issue. This is not a critical one. Well, it's still critical, you still need to fix it, but it's not remotely exploitable. However, there's another one which seems to be remotely exploitable, so this may be similar to the log4 shell issue that was last month or a couple of months ago. And if this has the same severance, then we will have an interesting weekend, but it's not clear yet how it's affected, what are the mitigations, how to patch the system. So this is currently, everything is evolving, and next week for sure I can tell more about it. Nevertheless, I found a nice quote. It will be a fun weekend for security teams everywhere. So the security teams, yeah, they are now looking into that and trying to analyze what is the impact, what are potential fixes, and hopefully eventually there will be more information. And if it's a critical issue, we will of course need to patch our systems as well, and other systems need to be patched as well. Another article that also goes into that direction of complexity versus simplicity, it's the article from the Ethereum founder Vitalik Buterin, The Roads Not Taken, published 2 days ago. Here he discusses the pros and cons of some decisions they made. Also interesting, they are transitioning from proof of work, which is considered a very simple mechanism, to proof of stake, which is a much more complex system, but it's more energy friendly. And he also writes that this proof of stake. It's called Gasper. It's mix of the Ghost protocol and Casper protocol, and this, he says, it's a complex system. He justifies why this complexity is needed. And down here there's a nice quote. I also have it in my slides. And he says, in general, it sometimes feels to me like Ethereum's biggest challenge comes from balancing two visions: a pure and simple blockchain that values safety and simplicity, and a highly performant and functional platform for building advanced applications. So with this, he means, I believe, he means complexity. So it's also here complexity versus simplicity. So my advice, if there's a chance to keep the system simple, keep it simple, because complexity, it always causes problem. And if there's a chance to keep it simple, keep it simple. During the challenge task, students asked me if they can, or how they can deploy their applications to cloud providers. There are several cloud providers out there. I talked to AWS if there is some possibility to get some credits, because OST has some sort of collaboration with them. It turned out it's not that easy. I will update you on this in the admin section. But what I came across 2 days ago is the following link. There's a new cloud challenger. It's Stackit. It's from the Schwarzgruppe, which also owns Lidl. So you can say Lidl is now also in the cloud business. Actually, it's the Schwarz Group, not Lidl itself. And I was looking for the prices, see if there's some kind of free tier, and I didn't find anything. Well, the prices, they have a price list, but you cannot log in, you cannot create an account, and as soon as you click on something, there pops up a form, says please contact us. So probably they're not that ready yet. This seems to be a press release only, and to see how much attention or how much people are interested in this topic. Then the next topic, also very interesting, because we talked about this the last time. It's about reducing the Docker image sizes. And one interesting point, I didn't mention this in the lecture, is that even if you change the meta information about the file will be copied. So this article is about this behavior. So if you change, for example, the ownership of a file, or if it can be read or written, by which group, by which user, this kind of metadata makes the data to copy, so the data will be twice there. And we can quickly look at it, because we also looked into overlay FS, which Docker is using. This is on slide 10, so we can do this as well. So we can quickly check this as well. We go to this directory, create the files, or create the directories. Now I can mount the system. And I have now my overlay here, which is empty, but we can go into the low directory. So if you know how it works, you can go and watch my previous lecture. So we go in the lower directory, and here we create a file. Hello goes into the file test.me. Now we have the file. We go to the overlay. We see the file as well. Now we can edit it. This we did the last time. It will be then in the upper directory. And also if we change the metadata, for example, we make it writable for everybody. So let's do it. Let's try it. We see now it's writable for all the users. If we go back to the lower directory, we see it still has its own permissions, its old permissions. We go to the upper directory, we see that the file was created with the new permissions. So even if we only change the metadata, the file gets copied. And this article is about this issue. So he did a lot of modifications of the metadata, and he ended up with a huge image, a container image, and then he was able to pinpoint what the problem is and to mitigate that. There is, interestingly, there is also an option which can turn off this copying if only the metadata is changed. This is here documented in on kernel.org, where you can say that if the metadata changes, don't copy it. For Docker, this is not the case, so I guess due to simplicity, it just copies the data. Also, it has some security implications. So if you don't trust the upper and lower directories, you should not use it. But if you if you need to change the metadata and you want to reduce space, use overlay FS, then this would be a way on how to reduce it. The next article is about satellites internet. This goes into the category that networks can fail, which you should also, when you design a distributed system, also take into account that the network may not be there 100% of the time. I also reported about those 38 missing or lost Starlink satellites due to coronal mass ejection, and this is a follow-up. So here there are lots of details on this side, how it happened, why it happened. Interestingly, this was due to this coronal mass ejection, and this led up to 50% more air drag. That means you need a lot more power to keep the satellite in orbit, and since they couldn't do this, the satellite they melted in the atmosphere. The next article is about security, which we will also see in one of the upcoming lectures about DNS. It's about the adoption of DNSSEC. And the interesting part here is how widespread it is, or how not widespread it is. Interestingly, in the top level domains, so .com, .ch, .de, there we have an adoption of 91%, which is very nice. However, in the second level domain, for example, ost.ch or sbb.ch, so the second on the second level in Germany, so for the German domain, they have adoption rate of 1.5%, and for the .com domain, they have 2.9%. It's not a lot. However, since we also have our own website in the company where I work, we host at AWS, and at AWS DNSSEC, I couldn't enable it. I have it for all my other domains, but AWS, it's somehow not possible or not implemented. So this could explain why this is not so widespread. Hopefully this will change soon. And also maybe by now they already fixed that. I looked at it, I think that was 1 year ago or so. There for sure it was not possible. These days I'm not sure anymore. I would have to look it up again. And the last article, it's about an exploit, quite expensive one, of the blockchain, of the Ronin blockchain, which powers Axie Infinity, which is a game where you can have NFTs. Oh, here's the website. Actually, this is the CoinDesk website that reports about this issue. Lots of money was stolen, and it was stolen from a validator. Private keys were compromised, and they could drain those and get a lot of ethers and also USDC. That was an attack on the bridge. So since it's a separate blockchain, it's still EVM compatible, but they have their Ronin blockchain. They need a bridge to Ethereum, and somehow on this bridge things were not implemented correctly. So, or were implemented correctly, but if you have the private keys, then yeah, you can basically steal the money. The details of this attack I also linked in my slides, is this site here. So here they talk about what happened, what they did, and yeah, this, I guess the story will continue, and we'll see how it turns out, but I guess the money is gone. This brings me to the following site. There is a very nice site, cryptosec.info, that lists all those DeFi hacks. And up to now, there were roughly 2 major DeFi hacks a month. So this one is the Ronin network, which powers Axie Infinity. It's an EVM compatible, Ethereum compatible blockchain. Amount stolen more than 600 million. Then the previous one, 23rd of March, Casio, only 50 million stolen. And February was a bit quiet, so only a wormhole attack, 300 million. So, but yeah, it goes on. So 2 DeFi hacks a month still happening, and probably it will continue, and I will report on those as well. The last thing I want to mention is the price impact of this hack. So if we go to the price chart, this is from CoinGecko. You can also go into CoinMarketCap. We see that it was around $2, $2.20, and after the hack was public, then the price dropped to 180. So that's a huge drop. And yeah, we'll see in future how that continues, if it will go up or if it will go down.